Welcome to Music with Mrs. Avery.
Boys and girls, we are going to continue our study of Peter and the Wolf. If you have not listened to the story of Peter and the Wolf, I have left that video for you in our lesson plans. If you've already listened to the musical fairy tale, then you are ready for this part of the lesson. Today we are going to look at our composer, Sergei Prokofiev. He was born April 27th, 1891 in the Ukraine. He was a Russian composer, and knowing their nationality is a very important characteristic of composers. A lot of times composers are inspired by where they come from. His most famous piece of music is Peter and the Wolf, and he has also written many other musical pieces. He comes from a musical family. His mom was a pianist, and he was a child prodigy on the piano. And a prodigy is another word for genius. He was able to master the piano at a very early age and very quickly. He wrote his first opera when he was 12 years old. And when he was a child, he got in trouble a lot. He liked to break the rules. He left his country of Russia in 1917, and he actually moved here to the United States and France. He moved back to Russia in 1936, and he continued to write music. He always remembered his childhood as being playful and fun, and he liked to depict that in his music, and that is how he was inspired to write Peter and the Wolf. Let's listen to another short excerpt of a song by Sergei Prokofiev. So that is a little bit about our composer. And now I'd like to look at our first instrument family, which is the strings. And remember, the strings make up over half of the orchestra, making them the main instrument family of the orchestra. So Peter was played by the string section, and the violin was the main instrument that held the melody, sort of carried the tune for Peter. So let's look a little bit closer at the violin. So the body of the violin is made of wood. It is hollow inside. It has 4 strings. Now, do you see these little fancy S's here? Well, that's a characteristic of all string instruments. And those are actually holes that have been carved out in that fancy shape. So in order to play these string instruments, you use a tool called a bow, which is a long stick, and on that stick is horsehair, and you rub that horsehair across the strings. Those strings vibrate, and the sound builds inside of the violin and travels out of those holes and travels to your ears. So the violin is small enough and it sits under your chin when you play it. The violin's the smallest of the 4 string instruments. We also have the viola, the cello, and the double bass. Let's listen to the violin. It makes a beautiful sound, doesn't it? So now we are going to learn a little bit more about the instrument and character relationships of our story, and we're going to specifically look at the violin and string instruments.
Now that you know about the string instruments, let's look at our instrument to character relationship for today. We know that the string instruments, the violin and all of the string instruments, played the character of Peter. Sergei Prokofiev chose the string instruments to play as Peter because they are the main instrument family in the orchestra. And Peter is the main character of the story. Tune in next week and we will look at more instrument and character relationships in our musical fairy tale, Peter and the Wolf. So remember, Peter is played by the violin and all the string instruments. Peter is the main character of the story, and the strings are the main instrument family of the orchestra.